Hello and welcome to Modern Horror Stories podcast with Alex, Dave, and Jamie. And today we're going to be talking about how we would improve the 1998 horror movie Ring. Yesterday we talked in more general terms about the movie, but today we are going to add our thoughts on how we would make this movie even better. And kudos to the people who actually did make this, of course, and all the films that we discuss. It's very difficult to make a movie. Only a fool would try to improve on a masterpiece, but we're going to try. And a word of warning, this will probably contain spoilers because we're going to be talking about all aspects of the movie, possibly even the ending. So, yesterday we all gave it a rating. Alex rated this movie 8. I gave it 8. Jamie gave it 4. So I'm feeling you could have a few big things to change in this movie. So, Alex, how would you like to go first?
Yeah, so I'm just going to come up with a few subtle changes because I do really, really like this film. So my main change, I think, is going to be about the relationship between the family unit that are the center of the entire film. So we've got journalist, her ex-husband, and her son Yoichi. And I just felt that had there been more of a sense that this family unit could come together by the end, then the fact that it doesn't would seem more painful for the audience. So I think if we saw a bit more of a bond between the ex-husband and Yoichi, if we saw a bit more of a bond between the journalist and the ex-husband, there's still a pretty solid bond, I think, between the journalist and Yoichi. But if we just saw the three of them, sort of maybe trying to move towards some kind of amicable relationship, then by the end, when the ex-husband is brutally murdered by Sadako coming out of a television. And I had to say at some point during this review, didn't I? Because we haven't mentioned today or yesterday this brilliant scene. So I think that moment, that horrifying moment, would have even more power if we sort of really believed that there might be some sort of resolution between the journalist and the ex-husband. But again, it is a near perfect scene for me. That scene, it was utterly horrifying watching it the first time, and it still hits watching it the second time. It just might hit a little bit more if I felt that relationship was going somewhere. One of the other things, and these are again small things, I would have happily followed some of the teenage characters for a bit longer. I think, I mean, partly because I'm sort of been raised on stuff like Nightmare on Elm Street, Scream, all these kind of Wes Craven films where there are these brilliantly written, sort of very smart teenagers who feel relatable, not sort of patronized by the filmmakers or anything like that. So yes, I wouldn't have minded a subplot, maybe following a couple of the teenagers going about. And that's more of a personal preference. It's just sort of the horror films that I like. I like witty teenagers just sort of managing to outsmart knife-fingered villains and that sort of thing. So yes, I could have happily had an extra subplot in there, just following the teenagers, because I think always that sort of dialogue, I think really really excites me. I think otherwise, I could have probably known a little bit less about Sadako. Maybe I don't think I need to be given a huge amount of information. I mean, one of the reasons Sadako is so terrifying is because we see so little of her face. And I think knowing just as little about her is really, really important. Maybe we can know a little bit less. I don't know. But I'd be curious to know what you guys think on that.
Interesting. You talked about a subplot. I never thought about that at all. And maybe there could have been people who'd seen the movie earlier, and we're waiting for those to
Yes,
perish
yeah.
or not to perish because we've only got that one piece of evidence that you're going to die. It's not been established that this happens to loads and loads of people. So yeah, there could have been a subplot. The three things that I would change, they're all quite subtle. Again, you've talked about this huge payoff with Sadako coming out of the TV at the end. It's so strong, it's so powerful that when I saw it second time, I expected it to be in the first half of the movie because it's all I could think about. And I'd completely forgotten that it was right at the very end. And so I'd try and put in some extra at least one extra scare. Find something. It's not going to be as powerful as that final scene, but put something in to balance it a little. Because, like I say, on second viewing, it lost a little bit because I was just waiting for that massive scene. Secondly, I agree with you about the family dynamic, and I would have liked to seen some kind of warmer scene, a bit like in Jaws. There's that scene with father and his daughter around the dinner table, and they're eating together, and he's mimicking her, and she's mimicking him, and something like that, just to give it a bit more warmth, and maybe less exposition as well. That it's a mystery which is solved by the end. Literally joined up all the dots, and maybe I would have left a few dots unjoined for audience to interpret meanings, as opposed to just getting the same exact meaning articulated every time.
I I felt there were lots of good elements to this film. Like the cinematography was incredible, the music score and all of that was really great, and the concept is brilliant. Perhaps that's why I gave it a low score, because I was so invested in this being an amazing film for me, and it just happened to not be. Evidently, it does land for people, but it just didn't land for me. And I think one of the main things that affected it for me was the lead actor. I don't want to throw shade at anybody who's, like you say, it's a hard job, and she did some great work, but I just didn't believe that she was in distress or fear for her life and with any urgency. There's this scene where she's like pulling up the buckets, and I know they're trying to sell that she's exhausted, but it never looks like she's really trying very hard. Like to me anyway, like it never looks like she's in a rush. And she spends so much time staring at the sunlight, waiting, like looking at the thing and like, oh, I've got no time. And all throughout the film, I just felt I just didn't feel the fear. I didn't feel the weight of what was going on. Maybe that's unfair. Maybe I missed something.
Maybe
But
also, we only get that the first time, because although this was the first time you've seen the film, you'd seen the remake, and so you knew what was coming.
yeah,
And I agree with you that I, given the fact she's only got 7 days to live, I didn't feel that big building tension. But maybe I didn't notice that the first time because
mm,
I'm being swept along with the mystery.
Well, I
yeah,
suppose journalists are used to deadlines, aren't they? She probably wasn't that phased. She's had worse.
yeah. It's true. That's true. Also, I wasn't keen on who the story followed. I think either we should have started with the journalist, the film should have started with the journalist, or the film should have carried on with the survivor from the beginning. And either way, it would have given it more of a heart and more of a solid core, I think, for the film. And similarly, I sort of grew up on Scream and those films, and maybe I'm a little biased towards just wanting to, because it starts similar to Scream. I kind of wanted it to continue in that vein. um,
And I completely respect that. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, it's similar to what you said, Dave. There's not much evidence that this video is real, but there's not much. And I actually thought, when the journalist's ex watches the video and then doesn't get the phone call, which has been a big part of it, I thought, oh, okay. So secretly, he's already watched the video like a day or two ago, and he just doesn't want to say it to the journalist. And he's going along with this investigation, but at some point, he's going to have to reveal that actually, we've been working towards your deadline, but my deadline is actually tomorrow or tonight or something. And I thought that would have been brilliant. But then maybe it's not fair to judge the film by what I thought it was going to be, and it just happened not to be that. Also, I think that bit with Sadako coming out of the TV, I agree, fantastic, brilliant. But the fact that it comes just after they've gone on this big quest and opened the well and hugged the skeleton of this girl, and I thought, oh, she's coming out of the TV because of something. They thought they were healing things by opening the well, but actually it's released her in some way. But then I realized, like, we haven't actually seen how she kills previously, and the guy actually dies exactly the same way as everybody else has died, just of fright, or so it seems. And previously, Tamako was looking at the TV in terror just before she died. So maybe the opening of the well thing didn't change anything. The whole quest didn't change anything. And it was kind of, that whole bit was made worse by the fact that the journalist was then racking her brains, like, what did I do different to my ex? Like, why did he die and I didn't? And I'm thinking, well, you hugged the corpse. That's what you did different. And she's like, I made a copy of the VHS. And I feel like that's such a huge logical leap after the enormity of hugging a corpse in the hopes of healing the wounds that girl's gone through. It sort of upended the whole stakes of the film in a way.
It would be quite a good movie if everyone did need to hug the corpse, though.
That'd be great, yeah.
Yeah.
It was just sitting in a museum somewhere, and every now and then somebody would go to the night manager and go, I'm really sorry, mate. Do you mind if I just, yeah, fine, no worries, £5.
A whole queue of people who've seen bootleg copies of this videotape queuing up to give the corpse a hug.
You could start a black market. It'd be fantastic.
Totally.
Yeah, I think you're right about the logic, James. Yeah, the logic is she broke the curse by hugging the corpse. That's the logic. It makes much more sense. And she has to speak it in voiceover anyway. Otherwise, you wouldn't get it, I don't think.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
It's such a brilliant concept for an ending. Like, the only way to save yourself from a curse is to curse someone else. I think that's brilliant. Like the morality of that, and the idea. It's interesting that she chose her father as the receptacle of that curse. And I think that was such a great thing to play with, but it was just something sort of tacked on in voiceover and didn't meet with anything else that was happening in the film.
So I think we have just about managed to salvage Ring and create a better movie, which is what we intended. So on that note, if you've got any ideas how you could improve on Ring, put your notes in the comments below, and hopefully we'll see you at the next Modern Horror Stories podcast.
See you soon.
See you.